Hi, this is Monique from Marketing Analytics, and what I wanted to do is just a quick recap of some of the elements we've been talking about in class and how they relate to our recent guest speakers from PH1. So we have been talking about STP, so segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And if we think about positioning is actually two things. It's how we differentiate the product in the marketplace, and it's the 4Ps. It's the marketing mix, that combination of product, price, place, and promotion. So what has been discussed so far, or where we've kind of focused in terms of the case discussions, is on changes that we can make to product, price, and place. So how do we position a product? How do we talk about it? How do we set the price? What's the distribution strategy? And you could see in the Wrigley's case the importance of price and place, so their distribution strategy. Also in terms of products, pellet gum versus stick gum. And this would be similar to what we see in the data analytics simulation with the laundry detergent blue. We have choices to make around how we price the product because our competitor Turbo is priced at $10. So it's a higher priced item. They're going for increasing revenue rather than increasing unit sales. So the lower end of the market are those store brands, basically formulations of a product that are then branded with the store name. So if you're in Shoppers Drug Mart, they have the Life brand. If you're in Super Value, then they have President's Choice brand. So it's a product that's branded for them. So in the data analytics simulation, you've got decisions around the product formulation. Are you doing laundry pods or powder or liquid? You have a pricing decision. You're at $7. Do you go up towards 10 and try to compete there, or do you come down towards 5 and try to compete there? We've got some place or distribution strategies in terms of where do we ensure that product is in the market. And then we have some promotional strategies. So what media channels are we going to use? These decisions around how we price a product, how we place it in the market, and promotion are often related to our target market. So if we have young consumers, do we make assumptions around online ads, maybe radio? If we've got older consumers, do we go TV and maybe print? So some of these decisions around price and promotion are directly related to what we understand about our target audience. So we've got STP-4Ps. These are kind of related, but it's important to understand that 4Ps is actually part of positioning. Now, when we talk about the consumer decision journey, so I'm just going to shortcut it here and call it the consumer journey. And what we're talking about is that idea of how people move between awareness to consideration to decision, retention, and loyalty. Now, the marketing decisions that happen at each of these stages are related to, well, how do we reach that audience? How do we create awareness? How do we interact with people when they are considering their decision? How do we create, if it's on social media, how do we create some form of engagement, likes, comments, shares, reactions? Or if we're in store, how do we manipulate what's happening at that consideration stage with consumer reviews or store choice, placement on the shelf. And then the decision process, we're really looking at conversion. So how do we help people make this decision faster? And then once they've already become customers, how do we ensure that there is satisfaction with the product and they have a good experience? So we tend to call this, in the RACE model, engage. Engage can sometimes be confused with action. So I think of action as interaction, and I think of engage more as experience. What's the customer experience? Are they satisfied with that experience? So when we start thinking about some of our other cases, like British Airways or Cancer Scan, the L'Oreal case study, what's happening is that those brands are looking at, how do we create more awareness? How do we create or acquire customers? And in terms of the metrics, we're going to look at our cost per acquisition. How much does it cost us to acquire that customer? When we start looking at sort of consideration and decision stage, we'll call this our conversion. Then we start looking at cost per conversion. How much does it actually cost us to acquire that person as a customer, not just to get their attention? And we're interested here in revenue, we're interested in the number of transactions, we're interested in the number of units that get sold, and as you saw in our positioning exercise, we're interested in profits, right? We want to accumulate profits. We want to, as a business, to increase our profitability, to make more money than we spend acquiring customers or converting that audience into customers. And then this second stage, we're really interested in retention. So how do we ensure, because we know that it costs us less to keep a customer than it does to acquire a new one, what do we focus on for retention? In your lifetime value tutorial, or customer lifetime value, these are the two acronyms that we commonly see, there are three things that are important. Well, what's the cost per acquisition? What is the profit we're generating from our customers? And how long are we able to retain them? So we have metrics around the number of purchase years. In retail, that tends to be 1 to 3 years. And then it's up or down from that, depending on your industry or type of product. We talk about churn rate, so how quickly are we losing people? And we talk about retention rate. What percentage of those customers are we retaining? And, important, how long are we retaining them? In that customer lifetime value tutorial, they also talked about your discount rate, meaning how do we understand our profit that we're making today in future terms? So actually, I should put this over here. So in the lifetime value tutorial, they use a rate of 8%. So the amount of money that you're earning today in those dollars a year from now is 8% less. So they're using that metric in customer lifetime value to understand that there's this change in value over time. And so there's very simple ways of calculating lifetime value, the same way there's very simple ways of calculating ROI, return on investment. But the customer lifetime value tutorial in Harvard Business is taking account for this present value of your profits. So some of the things that we were talking about with our perceptual positioning maps, we had our two variables on a map here, and we were talking about differentiation or positioning. Once we have this strong understanding of the market size, So the size of our segment, and we've understood what profitable segments are going to be. We have estimates of our market share. We've figured out some of this through factor analysis or cluster analysis. Cluster analysis, we're dividing our audience into groups, or segment analysis, it's sometimes called. Or factor analysis, we're looking at the dimensions that are a factor in decision making. So we're doing this analysis to understand this sort of section of what's happening around STP, keeping in mind that P for positioning also includes our 4Ps. So a lot of market research and marketing research happens here. Market research being research we do into the size of the market and people's position within it, and marketing research into what are we understanding or knowing about our customers, how they perceive these 4Ps, and what is having an impact along their path to purchase or their customer decision journey. Some of the business model methodologies, so like design thinking or the business canvas, agile, the methodologies for business innovation that our guests from PH1 were talking about, this has to do with what's kind of happening between this space, right? If we understand our segmentation and we understand that we have profitable segments of that market that we can target through differentiating the product and having a particular mix of the 4Ps that's going to resonate with our audience, what we're getting into now in terms of our syllabus is talking about promotion, right? How do we start promoting these products? What happens here in terms of the channel choices that we make? So channels being owned, earned, and paid, right? So we think about this as our media mix. Our owned channels are our website, email marketing lists, sort of channels that are within our control. Earned is about publicity, influencers. This is people writing things or saying things about us that we're not paying for. And then paid would include things like your ads and sponsorship. So where you're doing a sponsorship or influencer marketing, where you're paying people to talk about you, versus earned media, where they're talking about you because they just love your stuff. So in terms of promotion, if we think about the L'Oreal case study, what they did in this sort of digital environment is how to look at, well, what's happening in terms of conversation online. So instead of thinking like, what's our market share? What's our share of that conversation? What's happening in the market in terms of clusters of conversations or different dynamics around people's use of hair dye or interesting trends. So they're using things like Google Trends and social listening to kind of monitor what's happening in the marketplace so that they can make decisions about these 4Ps. And then some of the decisions that they made in relation to promotion was, let's go for some influencer marketing. We're going to find the people who are influential in this space. We're going to offer them a certain amount of sponsorship to try out our products, to try them for free, to talk about it early. And because they have large audiences who are influenced by the things that they say, we're going to try to get an increase in awareness and a further increase in earned media. So other people giving us customer ratings, product reviews, other things that help people at this decision stage, right? Oh, there's a lot of social proof. People really like this product, so maybe I'm going to buy it. So some of the marketing strategies that we're making in terms of what channels do we use for advertising? How do we interact with our audience on social media? which of those channels is influential in getting the sale, and which of those channels can we use in order to retain our customers. This is what we're talking about in the latter half of our syllabus, and that L'Oreal case study is a starting point for that. How do we look at using marketing research in a digital sense in order to acquire and collect some of the information that we need here, and then turn it around into our marketing strategies over here. So we'll talk, I'll give you kind of a director's cut of our PH1 presentation so that I can connect a few more of these dots, but I'm hoping that the visual gives you an idea of how things like STP and 4Ps are connected to the customer journey and some of these calculations that are important to us around lifetime value. I'm Monique, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.